The entire league is sitting on a powder keg, and the intel that just dropped is about to blow the lid off everything we thought we knew. Word on the street is that beyond the buzzer beaters and the rings, there's a shadow empire pulling the strings on who blows up and who gets blackballed. And sitting right at the head of the table is one man, the bad boy himself. I'm here to snatch souls. We hold the keys. We dictate what's popping. If we don't co-sign, you don't move. We own the culture.
I'm going to take your souls. We have the power. We decide what's hot. If we don't go, nobody goes. If we don't support, nobody supports. We control what's cool.
And I'm telling you, the names involved in this mess, you'd never see them coming. This isn't your standard celebrity gossip. I mean, the guy is a household name from the Bronx to Bombay. Sean Combs wasn't just a label head. The man was omnipresent. Fashion TV and, yeah, those infamous after-hours throwdowns. But strip away the flashing lights and you find a grim underbelly that was kept strictly on the hush-hush. And I mean deep underground. A hidden network where he held the keys to people's careers and reputations. And if you think his grip was tight on the music industry, wait until you see his claws in the NBA. You've definitely seen the Clips players looking a little too cozy with him. Courtside all smiles and inside jokes. But this web of power goes way deeper than just dapping it up at a Knicks game. His bashes were calculated operations he branded as freak-offs. But hey, we'll break down the receipts on that in a minute. For right now, ask yourself this. If his machine ran the table on music style and nightlife, why would he stop at the locker room? Think about it. The league is built on optics. One bad pick, one scandal, and your endorsement deals vanish into thin air. Then there's the chatter on the street about which team he's actually batting for if you pick up what I'm putting down. Which makes you wonder, why does he strictly target hyper-masculine spaces like hip-hop and pro ball? Plus, you gotta see this to believe it. What's good, baby? Yeah, we're on the way.
D-Dot, what's up, 6 God? Drake, what up, baby? Yeah, we coming, baby.
Like this. Daddy, I like when you're scrambling and scraping. I dig that. I remember getting an invite from you once, no lie. We used to throw these wild parties, and one invite, it self-destructed. It was your voice gave the drop location and then boom, message erased. Very high concept stuff.
Like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you
it's right
scrambling
here,
and scraping for shit.
No,
I like that.
I remember I got an invite from you once. This is true. You used to have these crazy parties, and one invite was it self-destructed. After it was you talking, and so you gave us the information of where the party was, and then it said this message was self-destruct.
I'm very high concept.
I don't know about you, but that's enough red flags for me right there. And trust me, the further we go down this rabbit hole, the crazier it gets. You won't believe which ballers are tangled up in this net. The parties, the leaked tapes, and the cold hard facts showing just how deep the rot goes. Look at King James, for instance. You've definitely seen this clip making the rounds.
Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
Yeah, on the surface, it's just a joke, right? But connect the dots and the pattern gets real clear, real fast. I mean, what are we even looking at? Imagine seeing MJ or the Black Mamba rocking a French maid outfit. Sounds impossible, right? But if you still think I'm reaching, there's actual footage of him at one of the moguls bashes. Check the tape. Yeah, and look at that. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to think, but come on, fam. The writing is on the wall. It's like they aren't even trying to hide it anymore. By the way, word is that to get inside these circles, you gotta pass a humiliation ritual. Basically a public shaming, to keep you on a leash. Once they got dirt on you, that's when you start seeing the bizarre outfits and the embarrassing behavior. Almost like they're puppets and someone else is yanking the strings. But this isn't just about rumors or bad optics, and it definitely ain't just LeBron. D-Wade and his wife Gabriel didn't just show up to the parties. They took a page out of his playbook and started hosting their own all-white events. Matter of fact, there's a clip of the bad boy himself reading their names off a VIP list back in 2022. Rita Wilson, Gabriel Union, Dwyane Wade.
Rita Wilson. Gabriel Union. Dwyane Wade.
He described Wade hosting nights fueled by excessive booze and plenty of that white stuff, if you know, you know. So who else is throwing these parties? You know the vibes. Private bashes stocking the exact same inventory. Yeah, the head honcho's signature move. Naturally, when those whispers turned into headlines. Wade slapped Von Haman with a defamation suit, which makes you ask, why the panic? What specific dirt was he desperate to bury? What was he? Trying to keep the masses from finding out? Here is a nugget you can't ignore. Over a 30-year stretch, the bad boy himself reportedly showed up to exactly 33 NBA matchups, usually hitting the hot spots Miami, Los Angeles, the Big Apple, and Jersey, and magically, every single one of those 33 games fell on nights when a very specific crew was clocking in. We are talking LeBron James, Wade Lamar, Odom Gilbert Arenas, Rajon Rondo, and Derek Fisher. But wait, it gets deeper. Internet sleuths crunch the numbers, digging through decades of box scores, and the verdict is wild. When the mogul was courtside, these guys didn't just play, they evolved. Their stats were noticeably superior. Take King James. In 6 games with the music icon watching, he dropped an average of 32.7 points, 8 boards, and 7.7 dimes. Compare that to his standard stat line: 27.1, 7.5 rebounds, and 7.4 assists when the seat was empty. That is a serious jump. It feels like audition energy. You know the feeling trying to flex because your crush, a mentor, or someone holding the keys to the kingdom is watching. Exactly. Flashback to that monster performance where LeBron dropped a 52-point nuke on the Knicks in 2009. Guess who was front row? Now, the diehards will scream, "It is just a coincidence." Yeah, okay. That is barely scratching the surface of the iceberg. The further down the rabbit hole you go, the less accidental it looks. The link between the players he backed and their league status starts glowing neon. It is almost like there is a direct pipeline. For the sake of this conversation, let's brand this collective the Diddler Squad. Recall those rumors about Wade throwing parties that mirrored the mogul's infamous after-hours events? It wasn't just the social scene or the secret meetings. The proof is in the box score. In 7 contests attended by the Tycoon, look at how Wade's output shifted against his career norm. First, his scoring spiked. We are talking a plus 2.3 differential, meaning that on average, Wade was putting up 2.53 extra points per night whenever his friend was in the building. He was also padding the stat sheet with more rebounds, assists, turnovers, blocks, and steals in those 7 specific games. Now, to the casual fan, a plus 2.53 differential might not look like a historic night, but when it happens 7 times in a row, tied to one specific spectator, you have to ask, who was Wade performing for? Maybe he was handling more than just the rock those nights. But let's pivot to a guy whose loyalty ran even deeper, Paul, Pierce. Before we dissect the data, put some respect on the truth's name. Paul Pierce was one of the most feared scorers of his era, a 10-time All-Star Finals MVP, and a certified Hall of Famer. But after hanging up the jersey, he secured the bag as an analyst at ESPN, appearing on The Jump and NBA Countdown starting in 2017. His legacy was solid. Then all of a sudden, April 2021 hits. Boom. It brought one of the craziest off-court viral moments in league history. Pierce is hosting a shindig, and instead of keeping it on the down low, he fires up Instagram Live. The footage, let's just say he was clearly mixing it up with substances that corporate America definitely frowns upon. I mean, just look at the tape. Out in broad daylight. I mean, you just have to watch them. But the substances weren't the kicker. It was the exotic dancers filling the room that grabbed the headlines. Remember how Wade allegedly copied the mogul's party blueprint? Yeah, do you see the thread connecting these guys yet? This wasn't a blip. It was a wildfire. And ESPN, owned by the Mouse House. Disney doesn't play around with morality clauses. They decided this was the final straw. Days after that footage spread across the web, Paul Pierce was out. Remember what I said about humiliation rituals earlier? Starts to make sense, doesn't it? Pierce tried to spin it on podcasts, acting like he got canned for just having a little fun, asking what the big deal was, as if we were just watching a chill Friday night. He even claimed he didn't know. Instagram live videos could be saved and reposted. Please. The internet stays undefeated, though. Fans started connecting the dots, digging up old tweets where he was pledging loyalty, calling the mogul his boy. Move as a unit. Pierce has been 10 toes down for Diddy for a long time. The internet sleuths already pulled the receipts, digging up old posts where he claimed that man was his day one. Check the timeline, folks. Something went south and fast. Literally 4 days after the feds turned Diddy's mansions inside out. At the start of the year, Pierce does a complete 180. He starts dragging Puff's name through the mud and publicly linking up with none other than Suge Knight Diddy's arch nemesis. For the uninitiated, Suge ran death row, called the shots for Tupac, and stood right beside him. This is the same guy people have been whispering about for decades regarding Biggie's murder. We're talking about Bad Boy's golden child and Pac's biggest rival. But hold up. 50 Cent just dropped some explosive intel in his new doc that flips the script, suggesting Puff might have had a hand in Biggie's demise himself. So why the sudden team switch if that doesn't crack the window open? On the shadowy web of power plays, rep management, and secret handshakes pulling the NBA's strings, then honestly, you're sleeping. But let's crunch the numbers because the stats don't lie. During those 5 postseason matchups where Puff was courtside eyeing Pierce, the man was possessed. He dropped nearly 3 more points per game compared to his standard playoff output. He was snatching more boards and handing out 1.24 more dimes every single night. It's like he was commanding the floor like a 4-star general. But check the defensive metrics, that's where it gets weird. His steals dipped, just a hair. Blocks dropped slightly, but his turnovers, those spiked by 0.68. It screams overexertion, like he was straining, taking wild gambles, and busting his hump just to put on a show for the boss in the front row. Now that's only the shiny side of the coin. You already know there's a flip side, a much grimmer reality. Not every hooper in Puff's orbit got the VIP treatment. Some guys went off script. And let's be real, it didn't end pretty. And let's label these cautionary tales the did. Look at Derek Fisher. You recall D-Fish, yeah. Okay, so dig this. Way back in 2003, Fisher gets clocked at one of Diddy's legendary after-hours bashes. Flash forward. Immediately following that night, his stock skyrockets. He hits his absolute prime. It was right in that window he starts putting up 10.5 points, 3.6 assists, and 1.13 steals a night. The guy was even sitting at 13th league-wide for three-point accuracy. Jump to the 2003 postseason, and he's dropping 12.8 a game. Life was good. He was so clutch he became a key piece in the Lakers' back-to-back ring ceremonies in 2009 and 2010. But the second the confetti settled in 2010, the vibe shifted. His minutes got slashed, his production tanked. Then boom, out of nowhere, LA ships him out. And don't tell me that's just a fluke, because rumor has it right around. Then he was beefing with Kim Porter, Puff's main squeezeback in the day. So let me get this straight. The vet who helped secure 2 straight chips gets dumped and starts washing out on other squads exactly when he gets on the wrong side of Diddy's girl and exactly when Puff starts haunting the sidelines at his games. Yeah, sure, totally random. Park that thought, though, because we got to talk about Rajon Rondo. This rabbit hole goes even deeper. June 15th, 2010. Diddy pulls up to Celtics versus Lakers. Rondo's on the floor. Not even 3 weeks later, footage leaks of Rondo exiting a 4th of July bash thrown by the man himself at Harrah's Resort down in Atlantic City. Here's the kicker. This was 2010. Everyone had a smartphone. Yet 0 photos, 0 tweets, nothing proving he was even there. Just one grainy undercover clip. What kind of hush-hush operation was going down that we can't dig up a single pic? Especially when you realize that immediately after that night, 2010 turns into Rondo's monster year. He landed first-team all-defense, got into the MVP chatter, led the league with 11.7 dimes a night, cracked all-NBA third team, and dragged Boston deep into the postseason. But then the lights go out. Jump to January 2024. Rondo gets booked for illegal firearms possession. This happens barely 2 months after the feds raid Diddy's crib. Come February, Rondo's pushed into retirement. By September, he's pleading guilty the exact same month Diddy gets cuffed. That timeline isn't just a coincidence, it's a roadmap. If you're paying close attention, the pattern screams at you. Play ball with the boss and life is sweet, but step out of bounds or go off script, you get erased. And just when you think you've seen the entire iceberg, you realize Diddy's grip on the league wasn't just about hoops. We've got players and officials tied to him way deeper than box scores. I'm talking court cases, backroom business, moves, and shady deals. It's all one giant spiderweb. Rewind to January 2007. Gilbert Arenas' Agent Zero was at the time lighting up the league like a torch. He decides he needs that extra edge to get chasing massive payouts and trying to lock in with the league's heavy hitters. So what was the play? He cut a check to Diddy? Yeah, that Diddy to front his 25th birthday bash. Gilbert's been real about it, admitting he dropped like $200,000 just to rent. The man's clout for the night. When you tally up the whole bill, we're talking anywhere from $1 million to $2 million once you factor in the private jets, renting out entire clubs, the A-list roster, and the insane production value. But listen, if you missed the subtext, this wasn't just a party, it was an entry fee. He needed to juice his standing in the league. So he orchestrated the wildest blowout the NBA had ever seen as a strategic flex. And you know what? It actually paid off. The fallout from that night was that Gilbert managed to eclipse Vince Carter in the fan vote, locking down a starter role in the 2007 All-Star Game. That elevated status gave him serious ammunition when he sat down to rework his Adidas contract, flipping a standard roster spot into a $40 million payday. It just proves the kind of pull Diddy really wielded. Oh, and get this. Arenas got slapped with cuffs this year, linked to an underground poker operation tied to an Israeli syndicate.
NBA star Gilbert Arenas has been arrested and is now facing federal charges for allegedly running an illegal gambling ring out of his San Fernando Valley home.
It runs deeper than the athletes, though. Puff has been maneuvering to get his hooks into the corporate side of the league for a minute. Let's rewind the guy. Dead Set tried to cop an NBA franchise back in 2003, and he wasn't quiet about it either. He was shouting from the rooftops that he wanted the Knicks because he felt the squad was crumbling and needed fresh energy. He was hopping on radio shows, hyping himself up as the savior who could actually run the front office and right the ship. Did it go down? Nope, the Dolans weren't selling, and Sean didn't have the juice back then to make a hostile takeover happen. Then enters the vodka game. By 2013, the league officially got in bed with his brand on a multi-year agreement. And we aren't talking about a sticker on the floorboards here. They dubbed it the toast of the NBA, planting Ciroc squarely in the middle of the culture all-star. Parties, playoff hype reels, the works. Essentially, if the league threw an event, Diddy's bottle was on the table. And don't overlook the all-star festivities. For years, whether it was Sean John DeLeon or Revolt, his footprint was stamped all over that week way before the major networks figured out how to properly monetize those sponsorships. But if you want to take a walk down a darker alley, let's look at 1991. He was 22, just starting to make noise. He helped run this charity hoop event at City College in New York. But to juice the profits, they allegedly packed in way more bodies than the gym could handle. The result was a crush that left 9 souls dead and 29 hurt. The legal battles came next, and he smoothed it over with a $750,000 payout. People were trapped with nowhere to go. And the wildest part, he claimed that tragedy is exactly when his fame really started. But if you don't grasp the man's origins, you'll never understand how he accumulated that level of sway and control. Long before the 1991 disaster, he was coming up rough in Harlem and Mount Vernon, and from day one, the ambition was dangerous. That drive got him an internship at Uptown Records, where he eventually landed a producer gig. In 1993, after getting the boot from Uptown, he pulled a move most industry hopefuls only fantasize about. He launched his own ship, Bad Boy Records, the same powerhouse that brought us Biggie Smalls. And if you lived through 92 hip-hop, you know exactly how messy things got with Pac and Suge Knight. By the way, take a look at this clip of Puff. Multi-billion-dollar industry. Notice that strange vibe and where his hand is. Yeah, that's the exact same grip we saw with him and LeBron. But this is where the rabbit hole gets deep. Diddy didn't stop at the music. He kept stacking new kingdoms on top of the old ones. Fashion, liquor, media, he built them all. And every time he conquered a new sector, his power base expanded, giving him more access, more leverage, and honestly more freedom to indulge his worst habits. Which leads us straight to those infamous parties and the NBA connection. The loudest alarm bell came from Cassie Ventura, his former flame. In May 2025, she spent 4 days on the stand, breaking down the details of these freak-offs. According to the court docs, the mogul would fly in male talent to meet them globally, and she was expected to engage with them, while he sat back and watched, sometimes even calling the shots like a director. It was completely unhinged. She mentioned nearly 10 large. We're talking massive quantities of baby oil heated up and slicked on endlessly during these marathons. And Cassie wasn't the only voice speaking out. The feds brought in another witness, let's call her Jane, who was with Combs from 2021 right up to the bust in 2024. She took the stand. admitting she played along with the freak-offs initially just to keep him happy, but the dynamic shifted once he started paying her bills. Specifically, once he covered her rent, she felt trapped. Now here's the smoking gun on Diddy's twisted obsession with the league. Jane dropped a bombshell that they actually role-played as NBA icons during the act. She claimed Diddy insisted on referring to himself as Michael Jordan, made her answer to Kobe Bryant, and the third guy involved had to go by Shaquille O'Neal. She broke it down as a major power trip for him. See, those three legends, unlike guys like LeBron, Wade, and the rest, were untouchable. Diddy couldn't buy them or own them, so hijacking their names was his sick way of living out a control fantasy. And for years, he moved like he was invincible until September 2024, when the agents finally swooped in. Then, on the 3rd of October, 2025, the gavel dropped 50 months inside a $500,000 fine and probation. Let that sink in. For a lifetime of alleged dirt and destruction, he walks away with barely 4 years behind bars. Let's be real, that sentence was a total slap on the wrist. But hey, this is Diddy we're talking about. You gotta wonder if strings were pulled behind the curtain. Even if the judge claimed he was locked in by the guidelines and could only punish what the jury actually convicted him on. But please, we're not blind. There's a much bigger game being played here. And this story isn't just about one music mogul. It's about the NBA itself. How did the league let itself get so tangled up and manipulated by these industry players? The NBA used to stand on its own 2 feet. There was an era when basketball didn't need a stamp of approval from Hollywood. I'm talking about the golden days of Bird Magic and MJ. We didn't care about movie stars sitting courtside because the athletes were the gods. They were the main event. But somewhere down the line, the league started flirting with that darker side of fame. That opened the door for operators like Diddy to walk in and seize control. So when you zoom out and look at the whole ugly picture we painted today, don't ask if the corruption is real. We know it is. The real question is, why did everybody stay quiet and look the other way for so long?